So Science 2.0, or I'll probably also say Open Science, which is another name for the same thing, is built on 5 pillars. Open source software, open access publishing, open data, open standards, and open licensing. And I'm going to skip open licensing more or less completely. I'm not a lawyer, and you should ask a lawyer. Copyright, you should go to Creative Commons. For patenting, Science Commons will help you out, and I don't really know a lot more about it. I do have some references on the last slide, which is not a slide for presentation, just in case anybody ever looks this up, that will point you in the right direction if you're interested in licensing issues. Open source is pretty much where all of this started, at least for academics, at least for most people. In, I believe it was 1983 or 1984, Richard Stallman, a programmer, became frustrated with the encroachment and what he saw as his intellectual freedom of proprietary software. And he wrote an operating system called GNU, which stood for GNU, is not Unix, it's a recursive name, little programmer joke. I don't get it either. And now, from that one small beginning, we're running this on Firefox, which is an open source program. A lot of people have used OpenOffice. The little penguin there is the mascot of Linux, more properly GNU Linux or GNU Linux, which is a free operating system. There are several hundred distributions. Apache, SendMail, and MyPHP are all open source programs, which means that if you use the internet, if you use email, you probably rely on open source software. The idea of open source was these 4 fundamental freedoms. Stallman, and that's Stallman in his guise as Saint Ignatius, the patron saint of freedom, or free software anyway. He said that he wanted people to have the freedom to run the program for whatever they wanted to run it for, to take it apart, figure it out, and fix it, or change it, to redistribute copies, and to improve the program and release those improvements. And it's those 4 fundamental freedoms, it's that attitude that you should be able to tinker with things that carries on to open access. And by analogy with the 4 fundamental freedoms of software, open access really means that you should be free to read, to rework, to redistribute, and to remix the products of scholarly work. And I'll come back in a moment to why scholarly work is a particular target of open access, although it can apply to anything that's published. Open access draws its most widely accepted definition from 3 conferences, Budapest, Bethesda, and Berlin. The first of them started everything off. It was sponsored by George Soros' Open Society Institute. And that's the little logo, the little swirly logo up there is the Open Society Institute. And that really set the tone, and the Howard Hughes and the Max Planck were the American and another European effort to get those ideas more firmly established and more firmly on the road. Peter Suber, who you see in the photo there, is a professor of philosophy who gave up tenure in that field to work towards an open access world, to work towards 100% open access. So he's the man when it comes to open access, and you really can't go wrong quoting Peter, who defines open access as digital, online, free of charge, free of most licensing restrictions. And what makes it possible is the internet.